Hello, welcome back. These are some of my favorite videos to make, my monthly recaps. I would not be able to do these as seamlessly as I would like without the app Letterbox. So like if you watch a lot of movies like I do, or if you're trying to start watching more movies and you're just like always looking for good recommendations, this is a really good app to use. I would strongly suggest getting on there, making a free account, see how you like it. The pro account does give you the ability to kind of like, I think at the end of the year, they show you like how many you watched, what your average rating was, what your like top movies were. It's kind of cool. It's kind of like if you have Spotify, it's like that Spotify rewind feature, like where they tell you your most played songs and all that stuff. But yeah, I really like this so far. You can follow people, you can see what movies they're watching. You can see other people's watch lists. It's just really cool. It's like a social media platform specifically for movies. So yeah, just like in my other monthly recap, I'm not going to be playing trailers for this one. I'll put a movie poster up for each film. And then on the screen, I'm also going to be posting like a little screenshot of my Letterbox like diary entry. Most of them will have my like how many stars out of 5 review or rating. And then it'll have the date I watched it. There's a tag underneath it that shows how I watched it. So if you also want to watch this, it gives you an idea of like where to find it. Some of them don't have star ratings, and that's because I've done individual movie reviews for them. When those entries come up, I'll post a link up here. I'm just giving you all kinds of content. So I'm going to start this list with my first movie of April, and that was Godzilla vs. Kong. That did release this year. You can watch it on HBO Max if you have an account, or if you have a subscription, I would watch it there. If you're still kind of cautious about going to theaters. I did watch it on HBO Max. I kind of want to see it in theaters again, but we'll see. I'm going to be reading little summaries off of Letterbox and then some just kind of like pulling out of my head. So, I mean, this one really needs no description. It is the kaiju film Godzilla vs. Kong. It's a very modern take on it. There's a lot of really like good little Easter eggs from like the classics, from the Toho classics. If you like big monsters wreaking havoc and fighting and like CG action, like I think this is about as close to like action films as I'll get, like big giant monsters. I don't really do Transformers, but like big creepy monsters, I'll take those. I really enjoyed this one. I did rate it kind of high. So yeah, I kicked off April with a bang with this one. If you see me looking down, it's because I'm actually going through Letterbox and clicking on these as I go. This one doesn't have a star rating because I do have a review, like a solo video up for it. So go check that out if you want. The next one on my list is The Unholy. Same with this one, I have a solo review for it as well. I went and saw this in theaters. I don't believe it's available to stream anywhere yet. And the little summary on Letterbox here says, Alice, a young hearing impaired girl who, after a supposed visitation from the Virgin Mary, is inexplicably able to hear, speak, and heal the sick. As word spreads and people from near and far flock to witness her miracles, a disgraced journalist hoping to revive his career visits the small New England town to investigate. When terrifying events begin to happen all around, he starts to question if these phenomena are the works of the Virgin Mary or something more sinister. This movie does not have a good average rating on Letterboxd. It's got only like 2.1 stars out of 5. In all fairness, it isn't a super like, you know, it's not a unique idea. Well, I mean, religious trauma is a popular topic in horror. I do think, like, I've never really seen many movies that play with the healer aspect of the religious community. I will say this movie's not for everybody. It was entertaining. Like, I mean, I enjoyed watching it. I gave it a high-ish review because it was just a good, I don't know, it was a good time. You know, if someone asks for like really good religious, like spiritual trauma, demonic, whatever, I probably wouldn't recommend this one. I'd probably recommend like something different. But yeah, so it was entertaining. If you can watch it for free, go for it. You'll have fun. There's a couple of good jump scares in it. The next one. So this one, I had a friend come over and we were trying to figure out what to do. We landed on watching a movie. We watched this on Amazon Prime. I'm not sure if he paid for it or not. I really hope he didn't. But I'm pretty sure you can watch this for free, or it's like you can stream it really anywhere, I think. This movie was called Killer Sofa. It's so bad. I mean, the name suggests that it is a sofa that kills people. That is what you're getting into. The acting is not great. The effects are all equally not great. Like the poster, like here, will kind of show you what you kind of think was gonna be like, you know, the killer stuff, what it looks like. But in reality, it looks like this. And I'll put it on the screen. I'll put the comparison. That's not scary. That's kind of cute. And that is why I gave it only 1 star. It's like a very generic story of like a guy dies and he's like spirit is in a sofa and he's like obsessed with a girl that ends up with it. And it's just like weird and it's like killing people, obviously. It's dumb. Don't waste your time with this movie. There are better films out to watch right now than a movie about a killer sofa. If you're just trying to like have a laugh with a friend like we were, yeah, put it on, but don't spend money on this. Next one on the list is the kind of follow-up to the classic Train to Busan. It's Peninsula from 2020. This one, right off the bat, I want to say that I think something that Train to Busan had that I really enjoyed was like this like emotional swell that you felt. Like, I mean, if you've seen it, you know, like the ending is really emotional, and there is like a pull at your heartstrings, and I think they leaned too heavy on that detail in this movie, because like they started right off trying to like be a tearjerker, and like it's just like a roller coaster of emotions throughout watching it. I did like the like death arena scenes. Those are really cool, but the average rating on Letterbox is like 2.6, so it didn't really like hit super well. And I gave it 3 stars just because like I was entertained and I liked the continuation of the story. But it's definitely, there's room for improvement. If they do continue making movies in this franchise, I would like to see less emotions, more action, kind of, more scares. So yeah. Oh man, so this one, my next one it's called The Power. I wanted this movie to be good. I was so hoping for this movie to be unique and amazing, but it ended up being like a really generic story of like a ghost in like in a hospital. It's just, I don't know, it follows this like young nurse who gets a job at this hospital, and like all the other nurses and like staff are like cutthroat and really rude to her, and she is just the definition of a shrinking violet. Like, man, she was so annoying. Like, the whole story is just super, like, overdone. Like, if I were to compare this to food, it would be like a rubbery steak. Yeah, you were excited to get steak, but, like, you're halfway through it and you're like, man, now I kind of want, like, pasta. Like, you just want something else. And it's weird. The average rating is 3 stars, and just the top 2 reviews from people on the app give it, like, 3.5 stars and 4 stars. Man, there's no way. It gets 2 stars, and I feel like that's being generous. So yeah, if you've got Shudder, and you're still curious about it, like, go for it, but there are better movies on Shudder to watch. This next one was a little bit unique. I wouldn't really classify it as like a true horror film. It's very much like a drama, sci-fi thriller. It's got moments where it's like a little tense or kind of spooky, but I don't think it would qualify as like a horror movie. But it was Voyagers, and that came out this year. I did go see it in theaters. I don't think you can stream it anywhere. This movie follows some young adults who are put on a spaceship and like shot out into space, and they were like created. When I say created, I mean like they were like test tube babies. Like, they're not superhumans or anything. They were just raised with like a lack of emotion and a lack of like fully understanding like the earth and, you know, basically like the pleasures of earth, I guess, or the pleasure of knowing what earth was or is. They know they come from it, but what their whole purpose of existing is to procreate on the ship and then raise their kids so that they inhabit the planet that's like 80 years away via space travel. I really like the concept. I like the idea of these people not using cryo sleep, or, you know, where they like go to sleep in like an air chamber and then they wake up and they're like, oh yeah, we just survived that trek. Like, that's cool, but like I like to see other ways that movies kind of play with small elements like that, and it becomes like the main part of the story. I thought they did really well with the plot. The acting could have been a little bit better. I will say, with a bunch of young teenagers, like, or I guess they're not teenagers, young adults. There could have been a lot of sex. There's not a lot, like, they hinted a couple of times, but they instead put a lot of emphasis on, like, them kind of losing themselves and losing control. It's very much like Lord of the Flies. If you've ever read or seen the movie, it's very much that in space. So I really liked Lord of the Flies. That's why I think I liked this movie. But I do have a full review on this if you want to see that. But I did rate it, like, pretty average. The next one on this list, I saw SpectreVision's account, which is like a production company that has Elijah Wood as one of the people who run it. I saw their Twitter account kind of give this movie praise. So I was like, ooh, I want to watch it. I want to see. You can watch it for free on Tubi. It was really entertaining. The description on Letterbox says, 2 drug dealers seek refuge inside their mentally unstable friend's mansion, but in order to stay, they have to participate in her elaborate and increasingly dangerous game of permanent make-believe. That's a very accurate description of the film. There is a twist ending. One of the main actors, Madeline Brewer, she really steals the show. Her acting really makes this movie good. The aesthetic of this whole movie is really, like, eye-pleasing. It's just really nice. I enjoyed this film a lot. I don't think it has high rewatchability, though. That's why I gave it only 3 stars. But if you want, like, a unique little gem that you can watch on, like, a free streaming site like Tubi, like, give this one a watch. It's definitely more like a thriller or, like, suspense thriller. Not a lot of jump scares, not super gory or spooky, so easy watch, and I recommend it. This next one's a little bit unique. I feel like every monthly recap, I have, like, one movie that's like, why is this here? But it's Logan Lucky from 2017. You guys already know, if you've watched all my videos, you know that I have, like, I don't know, I look up to Elijah Wood. I think he's a really inspirational human. I have this weird thing with, like, my friends that I like, he's my son, I'm so proud of who he's become, and it's like a dumb joke. He's older than me, and if we ever met in person, he could probably just, like, I don't know, beat my ass for being so weird. But although, because he's such a cool human, he probably wouldn't. He'd just be like, thanks, haha, and then, like, walk away. But I have another actor who I'm very much in love with, almost to a dangerous level, and that's Adam Driver. I solely set out to watch this movie because he's in it. Man, it was really entertaining. I mean, you can tell by the rating, 4 out of 5 stars. It was really good. It's not a horror at all. It's a comedy. It's got Channing Tatum and Daniel Craig in it. It was just, I mean, so a short, quick little synopsis would be like, it's a comedy based around 2 brothers who are in charge of a heist around, like, the NASCAR. I mean, like, there's, like, a race in town where they live at the Speedway, and they're planning a heist. And it's full of really good, like, it's so funny. It's very wholesome. It's very good. And the ending, I was a little surprised by the ending, but naturally Adam Driver stole the show for me. But Channing Tatum's a good actor. I don't seek out movies like this, but I try to branch out every now and then and watch different types of movies, and if they have actors and actresses in them that I like, bonus. So if you like comedies, if you like heist movies, this is a really good one. And I did rent it on YouTube. Ooh, this next one. So this is the one that I went and saw in theaters, and I was so impressed with this one. This is gonna be a really good addition to, like, atmospheric, kind of like art house, like strange vibey movies. I don't want to make any comparisons just because, like, I don't want to get people mad at me, but this movie has a very, like, folk, twisted, hallucinogenic, like, lens over it. It's a little difficult to watch in parts just because of how, like, overloaded with, like, lights and audio, like the trippiness that they're trying to achieve, and I think they achieve it really well. The average rating on Letterbox is about 3 stars. If you want to see what I gave it, I did do a full review on this one. But you follow, like, a scientist and a park ranger, and they go into the woods and they're checking, like, a surveillance site, and it's taking place in the middle of, like, a pandemic. The director, Ben Wheatley, he was inspired by the events of the real world happening around him, and I think it says on, like, Wikipedia that he wrote the movie in, like, 15 days or something, and it was during COVID, like, last August. It's just really cool. Like, it's a good movie. I really enjoyed it. I do foresee this one getting like a weird following, kind of like how like The Witch, Lighthouse, Midsummer have. This one's definitely worth a watch. The next movie on this list is The Hallow from 2015. I actually got this recommendation from another YouTuber named Ryan Hollinger. This movie, Letterbox description says, deep within the darkness of secluded forest land in rural Ireland dwells an ancient evil, feared by the nearby superstitious villagers as cursed creatures who prey upon the lost. Their secrets have been kept from civilization and remain on their hallowed ground. But when a conservationist from London moves in with his wife and infant child in order to survey the land for future construction, his actions unwittingly disturb the horde of demonic forces. Alone in a remote wilderness, he must now ensure his family's survival from their relentless attacks. This movie, if you like European folklore or like the changelings, the fae, that kind of stuff, this is a really nice one. I will say it's not as whimsical as maybe you would traditionally think. It's a little bit more dark and spooky, which I liked. It's a really simple setting, really simple story, but they execute it very well. I rented this one on YouTube and I give it 3 out of 5 stars. I would definitely maybe wait to see if it streams somewhere. Just because like I feel like I could miss it and it not be like a huge deal, but like it was still really entertaining. Ooh, okay, so this one's gonna be a little polarizing, I feel. It's the new Mortal Kombat from this year. You can stream it on HBO Max, but I went and saw it in theaters because I had to. I grew up playing Mortal Kombat. That being said, I'm not super invested in like the lore or the story, so like I know that some of the biggest issues people have with this movie is like the inaccuracy to the games, or like to the story at least. I thought they did a really good job casting. The gore was superb. There was a lot of fan servicey moments. I will say there's like one really cringy moment, like Kung Lao, I don't want to give anything away, but he kills someone and he says out loud, "flawless victory." Like, who are you talking to? Are you just telling yourself that? It's just, I know why they did it for fan service, but it was just silly. This is a good, like, action gore, special effects. The soundtrack was bumping, like, I don't know. I went in knowing that I was going to enjoy it already, so I feel like I'm a little bit biased with my opinion on it, but I did give it 3 out of 5 stars. This next one was a little bit of a surprise. It's called November. It released in 2017. And you can actually watch this for free on an app that I don't feel like I've talked about much on here, but it's called Vudu. You can like buy and rent movies on it as well. When you used to buy physical copies, I think you can still get codes for it, but when you buy physical movies, on the inside, those like codes to own it digitally, Vudu is one of those platforms that lets you keep the movies like a digital copy. And I share an account with some friends, and we just like put our codes and stockpile it in. But this one is free to watch on that app. I will say it was really annoying every time there was an ad break, and that's how they were able to make it free. Every time that there was an ad break, I had to keep going back into the captions and turning them back on. So that was really annoying, but it kept me like focused at least. The description on Letterbox says, in a medieval Estonian village, a group of peasants use magic and folk remedies to survive the winter, and a young woman tries to get a young man to love her. That is a very simple way to kind of talk about it. I will say I loved how, like, normally when you're watching a movie that involves like kind of in-depth story elements, they will kind of describe it like in an artistic way, like that way they know that the audience is following it. They did not do this like in this movie. Like, it very much felt like we were just sitting watching these people live in their village, and like the culture is so rich, and like there was really no description on a lot of things. Like, you get it throughout watching it, but it's hard to explain. Like, it just feels like you are watching these people live. It doesn't feel like a movie. It feels really artistic. One of my favorite things about this movie was like there were a lot of really beautiful shots. The cinematography was next level. I love the fact that it was in black and white. It just beautiful, gorgeous movie to watch. And I will say it had some like comedic elements. Not hardcore like laugh your ass off. Nothing like that, but like it was just kind of goofy, kind of silly, but that really added like a richness to the film. There aren't a lot of like scary moments. Like I wouldn't say this is a full-fledged horror film. Definitely like fantasy, drama, and then like horror kind of. If you like weird occult art house type films, I would watch this, hands down. As you can tell by my rating, 4 out of 5 stars. I was very impressed with this. The next one is another one that I was really hoping that I would like, but it just fell short, and it's The Devil Below. It came out this year. I rented it on YouTube, so that makes it extra bitter for me. This movie, on Letterbox, the description says, a group of 4 amateur adventurers who specialize in exploring remote and forsaken places pay a visit to the Shookham Hills, a town in the remote Appalachian Mountains, which was abandoned decades ago due to a mysterious coal mine fire. Like that, whenever you watch the trailer for it, it seems really cool. They build it up really well. Like, I was just hoping for a lot. And I will say, I'm normally like a huge fan of practical effects. I love me a good monster suit, you know, man in a monster suit, but I feel like modern day horror doesn't do that super well unless the suits or like the practical effects are very detailed, and like the monsters just were not scary. They look dumb. They are so obviously people in costumes, and I hated that I like noticed it and caught it, and then that's all I could focus on like the entire movie. Typically, I'll be really like, you know, optimistic and try to focus more on like the story, and the story is good. It's just the monsters not looking great, and like the whole movie's about them. I feel like you have to have effective scares for this movie and the story to work, and it just didn't for me. So I feel like my rating is very generous. It's 2.5 stars. I might change that, honestly, but I wouldn't recommend this movie. There are so many better creature features out there with practical effects, so yeah, just skip this one. My last movie of the month is called Matango. It also goes by Attack of the Mushroom People. It's a Toho film. It's a lot of fun. This one follows a bunch of like vacationers who are on like a yacht. They're just like having fun, summer fun on the ocean, and they like hit a storm, and the storm throws them off course, and it like fucks up their sails. So then they're like stranded in the ocean, and they eventually find like an island. And when they get onto the island, they think they're like, oh, you know, we'll have a chance to survive. They realize that like the whole island is covered in like this fungal mushroom vegetation growth stuff, and you see the whole movie's about them like remembering their lives, and like they're facing like the reality that they may not be like alive much longer because they're like facing starvation and dehydration. They're having a really hard time finding food on the island. They're eating a lot of like wild roots that are safe, or like wild yams, or like turtle eggs, or fish if they can get it, but it's not very successful. But there are these mushrooms on the island that like everybody like kind of wants to eat, but they soon discover that there's like a ship also on the island or around the island that has been abandoned, and they discovered that people had consumed the mushrooms and turned into mushrooms. So it's just a really good botanical horror, or like plant horror. Watching this actually inspired a TikTok movie list video that I made. If you don't follow me on TikTok, you should totally. I make really quick like movie list recommendations based on like subgenres. I'll post my TikTok somewhere on screen for you guys to go follow. But yeah, if you like old movies like 60s, 50s, whatever, I'll usually pepper some of those in onto this channel. There's just something so wholesome and so cool seeing how people create and eventually end up influencing modern horror. I just love I love being able to watch an old movie and see maybe like connections to like that movie and like a modern one, and see how they kind of helped the genre grow as a whole. And now that like, I mean, I know that Toho makes horror movies because they make like Godzilla, but I didn't realize they had so many to watch, so many different ones outside of like monsters. So I might go on like a Toho binge and watch a bunch and maybe do a solo video for that. Do you guys want that? I don't know how many of you enjoy the older movie content that I make, so... And you can watch this one for free on Tubi. If you do go watch this one on Tubi, it's under Attack of the Mushroom People. So for these monthly recaps, I want to start doing like my top 3 that I recommend, like out of all of the movies I watched this month, what are like the 3 that I'd recommend you go watch. And I gotta say, my top 3 would be In the Earth, November, and fuck it, Logan Lucky. Like, I was just really impressed with that movie. I enjoyed it the whole way through. I actually had started watching it, and then I had to stop it, and then my friend Sheena and I went to the movies and saw In the Earth, and then when I got back, normally if I start a movie and then like stop, I'll forget for days, but I was like, I'm gonna pick that back up and I'm watching it. So I was very impressed with Logan Lucky. So those are my top 3. November, In the Earth, Logan Lucky. Watch those and then come back to the comments and let me know what you think. If you guys decide to get a Letterbox, follow me, please. I would love to see what everyone watches. And eventually, if I can get like a stable like growth or like a stable audience, I would like for you guys to pick what movies I watch. Maybe like either for reviews or for like these end of the month like recaps. Because you can view my watch list and I put them all, like I just put them all in there. And you guys can like come back into the comments, or you can go on like my Twitter or my Instagram and tell me which ones you think I should watch next. It's just something like an idea for the future. As always, thank you guys for watching and tuning in. I look forward to making my next video. Any recommendations, as always, I greatly appreciate. But that's all for this video, and I'll just see you guys in the next one. Bye!